Here is some quick Dynasty fantasy football advice for this time of year. It's a long fantasy season, so I get it when people take a break from being active in their leagues, but with playoffs coming up in the NFL, I think it's a good time to stay active. I'd say a good chunk of people that play fantasy football actively watch the NFL playoffs, and when the NFL playoffs are happening, everybody's eyes are on those games and on the players specifically in those games. Meaning, if you have players on your Dynasty fantasy football roster in these games, you can capitalize on some values. And this is pending that you can actually trade during the NFL playoffs, which I know a lot of leagues you can. A good example of what I'm trying to get at is Gabriel Davis from last season. During the NFL playoffs, the Bills versus the Chiefs, he caught 8 passes for 201 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. Everyone, their mother, their neighbor, their grandma, their mailman was talking about Gabriel Davis, right? His Dynasty price drastically went up. Not saying at the time it should or shouldn't have, but people could have capitalized on that one specific game because, again, all eyes were on Gabriel Davis. All eyes were on the NFL playoffs. So looking now, we saw Jerick McKinnon go off last season. Across the last few weeks for fantasy, he's been one of the best fantasy running backs. So let's say you were looking to sell him, right? And he goes off in the NFL playoffs. You may be able to capitalize on everybody seeing that Jerick McKinnon had a great game and get some sort of return. It's just one example. Same with like Lombardi Lenny. I don't think his price during the season was super high for Dynasty, but we saw last year he was good in the NFL playoffs, and maybe he's going to be good again. So maybe during that time you can actually sell him for something worth your while versus what you could have a couple weeks ago. So the point being made here is during the NFL playoffs, you may be able to capitalize on some perceived increased value of players on your Dynasty roster just because all eyes are on these guys that actually make the playoffs versus the whole of the fantasy football player pool. With football still on TV, and maybe some leagues' last spike in activity because we know across a lot of leagues, once there is no football, that activity, the trading, etc., dies down. Just some thoughts here. Always trying to help you play to win.